The land directly south of the United States Air Force Academy was one of Colorado Springs' hotbeds for real estate and economic development during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. Land that once belonged to the Pikeview coal mine was sold during the 1960s to real estate investors and was developed extensively throughout the following decades. High-tech jobs from such industry giants as Digital Equipment, MCI, and Intel, combined with economic stimulus from the Air Force Academy, quickly turned a once remote corner of the city into its most desirable sector. Although many of the high-tech companies that sparked the development boom have either abandoned or scaled back their operations, the area still remains one of the most desirable parts of the city, with a median household income in the six-figure range. Despite having all the right ingredients for success, one ambitious retail project in the area failed miserably. In the early 1980s, a plot of land next to a busy freeway entrance in the heart of this growing economic development was selected for a 190,000 square foot high-end fashion mall called Tiffany Square. Business was booming at the nearby Chapel Hills Mall, which had itself just opened, and was ushering in other retail developments in the area. But even from before Tiffany Square was completed, it was already in hot water. The planned opening date in 1984 was delayed almost a year due to labor disputes during the mall's construction. This delay alienated tenants who sued the developer, causing the developer to default on a loan almost immediately after construction was completed. The mall opened with a 25% occupancy rate, a number that never increased, and property ownership changed hands several times in only a few years. Due to the mall's poor financial status and low occupancy rates, multiple tenants canceled plans to open stores there, opting instead to locate to the Chapel Hills Mall and other nearby retail centers. Why was Chapel Hills flourishing while Tiffany Square was floundering? Chapel Hills was already established as the go-to shopping destination by the time Tiffany Square opened, and had several large anchors including Sears and Montgomery Ward. Tiffany Square was not built with any space for such an anchor, and its few stores weren't enough of a draw to keep the crowds coming. By 1989, only 4 years after the mall had opened, the only tenants left were a 6-screen AMC movie theater and a deli restaurant. The savings and loan crisis of the early 1990s stifled any hopes of a retail revival, and, in 1994, a developer purchased the property at a bargain price and renovated it into office spaces. During the next decade, the property fared well. MCI WorldCom, which had a large presence in Colorado Springs, was the building's primary tenant and employed thousands of call center employees there. But in the early 2000s, following MCI's bankruptcy, the company closed their Tiffany Square operations. The movie theater shuttered around the same time, once more leaving the property in a nearly vacant state. The Great Recession of the late 2000s further stymied chances of permanent growth in the property. Transient anchors such as telemarketing firms and for-profit colleges passed through, and a megachurch opened in the space formerly occupied by the movie theater, but the building remained mostly empty. In 2017, the property was purchased by U-Haul, which opened a truck rental and moving store inside the building and converted a majority of the space on the second floor into self-storage units, with plans to construct additional units. The space on the first floor is still divided into leasable units. Current tenants include a Mexican restaurant, a radio station, and the megachurch, but most of the space remains vacant. Facades of storefronts and retail have long vanished from the interior of Tiffany Square, but mall-esque benches, staircases, and water features remain, invoking the memories of what the property originally sought out to be, and its subsequent failure to ever achieve retail success.